welcome. Those of you who have already joined, we're so excited to have you here today for another SGR Wednesday webinar. We have some very special guests with us. But before we launch into that, I want to encourage you all to use the chat feature to introduce yourselves, say hello, and also use that feature to ask any questions you may have throughout the presentation. And then once we conclude the more formal presentation, we'll get to as many questions as we can at the end. And then we also have a very special guest with us today. Kim is SGR's brand new client services manager, and today is her first day with SGR. We're so excited. So I wanted to introduce her as well, and feel free to send a welcome message down in the chat for Kim too. We're so excited to have her as part of our SGR team and family. So she'll be available to talk with you all and help with anything you may need in the future. Do you like that, Kim? I just threw you out there. Anything you may need. I mean,
that's absolutely perfect. I appreciate you guys, and I'm excited to be here with you all.
Thank you, Kim. So without further ado, though, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to City of Frisco so that we can get started with our presentation.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm John Lettelleir, Director of Development Services with the City of Frisco, and almost about 26 years of working with the city.
I am Philip Clymer, the Assistant Director of Development Services and Building Official, and I have been here just short of 20 years with the City of Frisco.
And so today's presentation is talking about the Tapestry development within Frisco. This was a zoning case, but this is a picture of the housing product that is being built in the Tapestry. And so it does have a green roof, and Philip will cover the building portion of making this happen. So next slide. So this is the location of the property. It's located in the eastern half of Frisco along Independence Parkway. Within this property, you can see there's 3 tributaries that flows from the upper right to the lower left, and the major creek that's going through this property in the southeast or southwest corner of the property, that is part of the Six City Hike and Bike Trail. And so with the 2 tributaries just east of Independence, we are doing trail connections through adjacent neighborhoods to the north to connect to this trail. But the property owner had been holding out on selling the property. Their intention was to sell to somebody that would take advantage of the site's topography and natural features. And so about 4 or 5 years ago, a group from India expressed interest in the property to acquire. And through the process of going through the plan development zoning, everybody came to agreement. This was a unique development, which we'll cover a little bit later. So next. So as you saw in the picture, these designs were incorporated into the plan development. Anytime we do a plan development, we take a very particular hard look. We take the vision that the developer is showing us and incorporate that into the plan development to ensure that what is agreed on in allowing the zoning, it's actually going to follow the plan. And should this not work, they would have to come back and modify that plan development. But their intent, the developer is from India, popular over there, but they want to do the green roofs on the property. And in the beginning, they had the Lady Bird Johnson Foundation involved in the putting together a maintenance program for the green roofs. And there were some structural elements that had to be addressed. And when this came up, Philip and his team was involved in reviewing to see if we had to do anything in particular within the zoning to make this a possibility. We did have some people inquiring about is like bobcats getting on the roof and jumping on people. And there's all sorts of crazy stuff that was coming out that with the green roofs. But this has actually turned out pretty good. Next, please. So this is your typical lot dimensions on the site. We have that spelled out. So both building inspection, fire department, as well as engineering reviewed. We want to make sure everything was going to be able to drain. We want to make sure that the fire department was able to serve during emergencies, and from a building inspection, making sure everything is working from building code. Next. So this is the layout that was incorporated into the plan development. And so this does lay out the street, the lots, and this is what they have to follow. We do allow variations to occur. They can be approved administratively, but you can see where the open space and trees are. We have lots either fronting or siding, optimizing the views into the open space. That has a benefit of increasing property values. So this came out pretty good. Next. So on the zoning with this, as I mentioned earlier, the property owner wanted to sell somebody that was going to take advantage of the property because it is unique. But to do that, the developer had to go out and select a quality civil firm that could actually deliver, and it was Stantec at the time. And we had lengthy discussions, property owner involved as well with the developer, because the land had not transferred at that point, is making sure that they were living to the commitment of the landowner, meeting the city requirements of what the developer was expecting. And because of the picture that we showed you right off up front, this is a unique product. And there was a lot of conversation about, well, is this going to make within this area? This is something totally different. And there's just not a proven market for it. But sometimes you just have to take the risk that you just got to give it a try. And so that's what we did. There was a lot of conversations from homeowners that were that lived around in this area that were supportive. There were ones that were opposed. And I will say that this has not gone as quickly as the developer would like in moving the products on the property. I think that more or less has to do with the price that they're requesting compared to the other housing prices in the immediate vicinity. They are priced at a higher rate. But I would say the interior design of these homes is really spectacular. I don't think there's any unused space within the building. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Philip to talk about what they had to go through on the building plans.
The developer and home builder, Kamal Segar, he's actually a well-known architect, real estate, residential tower developer, and entrepreneur from India. So he may not be well known here, but he is actually well known in Bangalore, India. The property itself is relatively unique. Like John said, in Frisco, there was a lot of nature that was preserved within the development. The beginning of Rowlett Creek, a major tributary for the Trinity, passes right through the property. And there are over 600 mature trees and hundreds of new trees that will be planted as part of the home building construction through build out. It's also designed as a duplex-like community. They're actually single-family homes, but they're attached with a common wall between them. It's relatively low density with extensive walkable open spaces that were provided throughout the creek area. The developer, I believe, has truly had a desire to holistically embrace nature in the way that they provide the residents an oasis in our concrete jungle. The homes feature a green roof, but as building codes would specify, they would be called vegetated roofs or roof gardens. Originally, the developer, as John stated, partnered with the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center for programming of the vegetative landscapes. The theme follows the native blackland prairies planning. They're drought tolerant and relatively low maintenance. The roofs encourage and sustain the existing habitat and support biodiversity. Certainly, there were lots of questions that came up when first proposed by the development team, but I do believe the development team was very helpful in problem solving and navigating the home plans through the code analysis. They were committed to listening and responding to our concerns in a constructive way. 5G Studios Collective was their original lead design professionals for the house plans, and they did a great job at partnering with the city to explore all of these challenges that we had with the proposal. Some of our concerns were obviously fire prevention. There were multiple meetings with fire and code officials here at the city to discuss code requirements, some of which were clearances to combustibles. You don't want vegetative roofs too close to combustible materials of siding or wood. You need some type of tested assemblies there to provide clearance to combustibles. Required hydration of vegetation. The fire code specifies that vegetative roofs need to be regularly maintained and hydrated, whether it's a dormant grass or other vegetative materials that may be susceptible to combustion. Removal of dead foliage or other decaying materials. Obviously, there's a life cycle of all of this vegetative state, and planning for ongoing maintenance. That's a big thing for vegetative roofs, making sure there's some plan in place that's sustainable. Structural integrity. The design team, through the consultants of 3G, provided us with extensive code analysis to demonstrate and account for additional loads imposed by green roofs. If you really look at it, green roofs aren't imposing all that more a load than you would find in a high snow load area. So if you go up north, they regularly have snow loads on roofs that are equivalent to what we see for a vegetative roof. Co-compliance. So the IRC, really, the International Residential Code, does not mention vegetative roofs at all. So we had to explore avenues of co-compliance through the International Building Code, which is usually geared towards commercial type construction where vegetative roofs are more commonly found. Security. One design element that they originally had with these plans were to have a very low slope roof close to the ground. There were concerns that people could readily access those roofs for whatever purposes, and they worked with us to create a product that was a little less inviting, maybe a little less attractive nuisance to the surrounding public. Public concerns. There was some public concerns that we received from surrounding areas, and the developer worked with us with multiple meetings with homeowners associations and owners groups to try to be transparent and available to respond to their concerns. So for the technical aspects of construction of green roofs, for the most part, these homes are constructed of conventional framing, not unlike you would find in any other home construction in our area. They do have some type of specialty engineered roof truss systems that would help to account for not only the green roof, but also this architect's specific unique design of these radius roofs. The green roofs are more similar to application of commercial construction and consist of your standard roof sheathing. And they used in actually a fully adhered TPO roof, which is a thermoplastic polyethylene. It's extremely durable. You find it in a lot of commercial construction and requires very minimal maintenance unless for some reason it becomes damaged. And obviously a growing medium. They have to have some type of material that is conducive to growing this vegetation, which is typically composed. There's many different products, but it's typically composed of recycled type material. It may contain organics, it may contain crushed clays or recycled brick, and possibly some retention aids like perlite that keeps some hydration in the soil. So there are many benefits to vegetated roofs. One is it helps reduce rain runoff and protects against hail damage that would otherwise damage a conventional roof covering. The increased thermal mass that's provided by vegetated roofs keeps interior homes warmer in the winter, cooler in the summer. The mass can also help to reduce noise pollution from the exterior. Green roofs absorb rainwater and slows runoff, reducing the burden on stormwater drainage systems. This can help mitigate flooding and water pollution caused by excessive runoff. Vegetated roofs inherently reduce heat island effect in urban areas. Green roofs absorb and release less heat compared to traditional roofs, reducing the overall temperature and mitigating the heat in urban areas. Evapotranspiration, so the loss of water through the natural growing process of vegetation, can also help to assist mitigation of these effects. The developer of this product actually offers homeowners geothermal systems and solar systems that further align the dwellings with their vision for sustainability and livability. So there are some challenges to green roofs. Green roofs require irrigation, especially during dry seasons, which can put additional pressure on water resources, which are valuable around here. It is also important to select drought-tolerant species and observe responsible irrigation practices to minimize water consumption. Green roofs require additional structural support, waterproofing, and irrigation systems, which can add cost to construction. Additionally, regular maintenance is essential to ensure the health and longevity of green roofs, which can be costly and time-consuming. Regular inspection of these systems, roof structures, waterproofing systems are also necessary on a routine basis to repair and make sure there's not any leaks that are continuing. Repairs costs can grow exponentially because of deferred maintenance, so you cannot do that. I do believe that these vegetated roofs accomplishes the goals of Kamal and improve the quality of life of the built environment by incorporating nature and architecture in Frisco. And it is a great benefit, I believe. I hope to see this development grow to build out and possibly through that increase the unique living environments within Frisco, and hopefully we see more. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you all so much. I'm going to ask again if anyone has questions so they can put those in the chat. And then I'd like to bring, there you are, Kim. Kim, what did you think about the presentation?
Very interesting. I do have a question, just having been on the public sector side for quite a while. You guys mentioned you had a little bit of some public concern or pushback. What were their primary concerns? And I guess, how did you end up navigating that as you were working through this project?
As we do on all zoning cases, we do a public outreach, especially when it's a plan development. The process that we use is we meet with the developer, and if it has legs, then we'll do like a pre-submission meeting to go over their plans. And once it's good, we'll have a work session with the Planning and Zoning Commission to see if there's any landmines. And then knowing what those are and if it looks good or whatever, at least we know some of the hot buttons. And then we work with the developer to coordinate a kind of like a homeowners association meetings with the different groups and have they come, and generally having all of that done before they actually make a submission to the city to rezone the property. And the reason we're doing that, we want to know as many of the landmines as possible. But we found the biggest one was about, well, this has not been done in the market and we shouldn't be encouraging it. Well, that's a poor way to approach innovative designs. Is you're going to be a leader or be a follower? And this is something I had raised with the Planning and Zoning Commission and said, you know, it's a gut feel. It could go south, and if it does, then we're going to have another crack at it the way we prepare our plan developments. But this could be a hot topic, and the Planning and Zone Commission and City Council agreed, and we moved forward with it. It wasn't total opposition. I think it was good to have. There were residents that were supportive, more in support than the ones in opposition. So,
Excellent. We did get a question in the chat also, John. Stephen asked, did I miss the mention of it? Is a water catchment system used in the system?
Not in this home construction. They do have some specialty roof drainage systems that just aid in water flow via drain boards and other specialty products, but they are not currently capturing it. Our city does have a program for helping homeowners do private rainwater capture, but it's not part of this product.
there's one thing I want to add as Philip is going through his presentation, and as we do these type of developments, we are relying on the expertise of so many of our other departments. And Philip is very forward thinking, not only in this category, but as well as doing mass timber construction. So he's been the leader and been assisting fire department with their understanding of mass timber. So it's good to have innovative, forward-thinking staff members.
It's much easier to say no to these things for a municipality to say yes. So you really have to lean forward.
That's a good point. And I want to ask this question. If you could go back and do it all over again from the start, what would you do differently, if anything?
I'm not sure from my standpoint on the zoning, I wouldn't do really anything different. The design is unique, and you just never know when a design is going to take off. It may take a little while for it to be accepted, and hopefully the momentum. I mean, they're building a few more of these homes out there and just take off, but I would not change anything in the process of what we have in the standards. Phil?
No, same here. It's really good to have a developer and a home builder that comes to the city and truly wants to partner to find solutions. I mentioned that in my presentation. If they truly bring you in on the ground floor as a partner to find solutions to complex problems, which this is, it really helps the entire process.
Absolutely. Jason asked a great question and said, if this project becomes more successful over time, will it be possible to retrofit existing normal houses with grass roofs? Will a zoning conversation need to take place before that?
Well,
I would say in our typical conventional neighborhoods, it would be a problem. Just from the standpoint of putting the engineering that needs to go into a home up front, it would be very limiting.
and on the zoning side, I would not even contemplate going down that road at this point, but the question will come up, and that I'll have for Philip will be what's the process for retrofitting? And if it's really complicated and costly, it's like, no, I would not invest the time in trying to develop an ordinance for that.
Makes sense. Corey asked, have the owners been surveyed specifically about lessons learned on maintenance?
So currently we have 4 homes on the ground, and I think they're really only through a few seasons. So it may be a little bit early for that discussion, but that is a great point. I do believe that needs to be explored.
So that's our Wednesday webinar 2.0, I guess.
Yeah. And I was trying to remember, Philip, if they were going to have was the HOA going to be in charge of maintaining the roof? So it's going to be the homeowners.
They had committed to us that the HOA would do it,
Yeah.
but it's not in any of our regulations. It was just a
Okay.
commitment.
Because that was a question early on. If you're relying on individual maintenance on something that requires a higher level of maintenance, that was a concern, and that's what they told us, that the HOA was going to be maintaining that. So that may be in their HOA documents. I don't recall.
Okay. Stephen also asked, was embodied carbon calculated and or offset to see how it compares over time to conventional building practices, and what specific plants are grown?
So that wasn't part of anything that they explored with us. I do know that Mr. Sagar is very committed to sustainability, and I do believe that he has professional works out there that have had multiple awards in that field, but it's not something that was demonstrated to the city.
And to that, yeah, we don't have any specifics. All I can refer to is research papers that I've read where green roofs are prevalent in Europe. It does lower the temperature. So a lot of evidence on that from European studies.
Well, I'll do one last call for questions, and I will also remind everyone to register for the Wednesday webinar for next week. We are doing rebranding Las Vegas from entertainment to sports capital of the world with Don Jacobson. So I'm going to drop the link for that in the chat. And then also, of course, all of our Wednesday webinars are available. You can find those on the SGR YouTube channel. So if you want to share any of the recorded webinars with some of your colleagues or friends, feel free to do that as well. And I appreciate you. Oh, thank you, Stephen. He's a very interesting project. Thank you for sharing. And I totally agree with Stephen's sentiment there. Philip and John, we appreciate you joining us and sharing about this, sharing your knowledge, and look forward to maybe seeing results down the road too, and hearing about what some of those surveys say.
Okay, you're welcome.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone, and have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Okay. Bye.